Welcome to the Frictionless Innkeeper Podcast. Coming right up, fresh tips and insights from lodging professionals aimed at helping you improve your business. Our podcast is brought to you by the Frictionless Guest App, the digital concierge that helps your guests to live like locals. Learn how at frictionlessguest.com. Steve Short, how's it going?
It's going well, Matt. How's life?
Life is going well. You know, the Midwest region of the United States is a pretty strong area for bed and breakfasts and inns and independent lodging. Am I right on that?
That's been our observation at Frictionless for sure. Yeah, a lot of Michigan, for example, Wisconsin, those areas. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful part of the country. And the reason why we're talking about this is this Frictionless Innkeeper podcast interview is all about the recent announced merger between the Midwest Association of Independent Inns and the Michigan Bed and Breakfast Association. So some big news coming out of the Midwest.
Yep. The changing landscape of associations, states and regionals and all of that. It's good to see that I think the Midwest is heading in the right direction in terms of figuring out the key to getting new members and keeping existing members and that sort of thing, which they'll talk about that, and we'll go into that in detail about the kind of the marketing approach rather than just pure education and advocacy and that sort of thing. So that's good to see and with the merger, it's probably the largest regional out there. I don't know what the numbers is, but it's growing critical mass and big numbers, and that's going to make them even more successful, I hope, in terms of their marketing efforts and getting their members more heads in beds, as Randy would say.
Yeah, exactly. I think this is some real positive momentum there. And we hope you enjoy this Frictionless Innkeeper podcast interview with Kerri Thiel, who's the outgoing executive director of MWInns. Mikki Suchomel is actually the incoming executive director of MWInns. And of course, our good friend Randy Bangs, who is the board VP marketing chair of MWInns. And we hope you enjoy this interview. Kerri, how are you? Welcome back.
Thank you, Matt. Thanks for having us, Steve. Matt, things are great. Summer's here, full force. People are busy with their inns. Everything is going great.
That's excellent. Excellent. Randy, welcome back. How are you?
I'm thrilled to be back. I'm a little surprised you invited me again, but I'm glad to be here.
We always love having you. And Mikki, welcome. First time on the show. Thanks for joining us. How are you?
Good. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And then, of course, Steve Short. How are you?
I'm doing well, Matt. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. It's always great to see you. So let's kick it off. So the real big hook for this podcast is really the merger between the Midwest Association of Independent Inns and the Michigan Bed and Breakfast Association. So let's just start off at the top with all about that, and then let's see where it goes. And who wants to go first on this? Kerri?
Sure. I'd be happy to. Yeah, we are super excited to share that the Midwest Association of Independent Inns continues to grow, generate a lot of enthusiasm and excitement. We are welcoming people in from 13 Midwest states to form a very robust association that benefits both the innkeepers that join as well as all the travelers looking for insight into the great Midwest. And now we are just so excited to announce that the very wonderful Michigan Bed and Breakfast Association is merging into the Midwest Association of Independent Inns to create that much more of a large and successful regional group. And we're just super excited to basically double the size of our association. Randy, I'll let you add to that.
Yeah, I think that this is just the continuation of our dream, how we originally, our initial vision to make a broader association that could capitalize on the strengths of the individual properties in the individual states and become a better whole. And so I think we are on path to achieve the dream that we had set out to achieve maybe 3-4 years ago.
Absolutely. I mean, we have the current website of MWInns was launched in 2024. It was a little different of a slant. It's not just about the unique lodging, which is certainly a priority and a thrust, But through our research and through a lot of strategic planning sessions, we realized that there really was a need to draw people in to a broader website that would really be both, again, a travel website. And so our blogs, which we do approximately 3 to 4 a month, professionally done blogs, will talk about everything from where are the best hiking around the Midwest, what are the greatest biking areas in the Midwest. And all of a sudden, you're pulling people in from blogs, from Google Ads, all kinds of ways. And they say, wow, Midwest. I was thinking of going to Minnesota. Now I see that, we should really do a path along the Mississippi River that will lead us into many states. And oh, look, let's go ahead and stay at these variety of unique lodging properties. So it's about drawing people in that are travelers into the Midwest, both nationally and internationally, as well as to make sure we're promoting our independent lodging. And it's working. And we've got the Google Analytics to prove that, which is a big plus for our innkeepers as well. Because when we talk about why join us, right? Why join the Midwest Association of Independent Inns? We can talk all about how we're going to give them that much more exposure on our website and, proof sources and return on of the investment. But then kind of what Randy also touched on, so many more reasons, right? It's not just the marketing, it's the education, it's the camaraderie, it's about the advocacy. Lots of reasons to join an association that specializes in independent lodging.
Last time, I guess we talked when it was kind of the formation of the West Ends, and we talked about, I guess, this shift from being just more about advocacy and education to a marketing slant, right? And that's really what you're saying. So, how has that gone as far as driving bookings for the members? Or maybe it's not direct bookings, but, like you say, maybe it's just the content marketing and getting recognition, and that's indirectly drives bookings. So, has that been on the increase, or is the trending looking good for things?
Randy, do you want to be?
Sure. I think we're making progress towards that goal. It takes time, to develop the SEO to become relevant and be at the top of search engine for various topics. I mean, that's the goal. The goal is to be an association that provides a positive return on investment to all of its members. I think we've proven that we can do that. I think as we expand, it takes time for us to develop the content and the optimization to be as successful in those newer areas as we were in the areas of like Wisconsin or Michigan. Those are of the states that are current members of Midwest. Those were the states that were most successfully optimized and where there was the richest content. So part of our goal as we move forward is to continue to enrich the content, expand the content, leverage that content to be even more visible across the multitude of states that represent the Midwest. We're making progress. I think it's going to take a little while before, I don't know if we'll ever achieve our goal, because as we get better, our goal is going to get bigger. But I think to at least provide that positive return on investment, we're making, I think, significant progress in that way. And hopefully we provide an even greater return on investment over time.
What I really like about working with our boards and looking strategically forward is how can we always think out of the box and make our website relevant and better each and every time that somebody jumps on it and has an experience. And one of the things that, I'll mention to you is if you go on midwestins.com website, you will see all the reasons why anybody would want to come to the Midwest for travel year round. You will see all kinds of unique lodging experiences. But where I'm going with this is we've just launched a new experience section on our website. And it's through a partnership with Fair Harbor. But now when somebody says, okay, I'm traveling from Chicago across the state and I'm going to end up in the northern part of Minnesota, And as they plan their trip, they'll say, oh my gosh, I want to take a look at this experience section. And they can actually book a specific experience on our website to, again, make that whole trip that much more enticing, if you will. So whether it is a Segway trip in Chicago, followed by a pontoon boat ride in another state, they have an opportunity to look at that and book the experiences. And whether or not it is directly related to the location of their inn, it could be on the way. The idea is the more touch points you have, the more people we can drive to our website, the more likely they will be to stumble on a property, right? Or just stumble on an area. Gee, I thought I was going to Madison. I didn't realize there's a Cambridge, or whatever it is. So we continue to expand and think out of the box on our website, and Fair Harbor Experiences is just one example.
Yeah, I think that it's the right direction personally anyway. It's not like I'm an expert on the history of associations, but it seems to me that associations, locals, were state, whatever, regionals, were initially a long time ago more about the marketing, and that became more difficult with Google and everything else that's out there. And I think the need to get back to provide value to members through marketing is hugely important. So I hope things are going in that right direction. And you're right, Randy. It seems like, for organic search and that sort of thing, it's going to take some time, but I think it's the future.
If you look at the bed and breakfast industry, the associations were created to become a marketing avenue for its members. And that was oftentimes used in the form of booklets, or in the case of the Select Registry Genesis, that was, a booklet of country inns across the country. And as the internet became a bigger and bigger part of people's search process, I think things changed within the associations, and the associations maybe lost a sense for how they could achieve their objectives in terms of getting the voice out regarding their members. And I think what we've tried to do as the Midwest Association, and Michigan was similarly doing the same thing, is to say, hey, we have to figure out a way to get people to come to our sites so that they can learn about us. Because you can do a Google search. If you know exactly where you're going, you can do a Google search and find a property. Well, that's one of the reasons why we really push towards becoming a little bit more of a travel site, because we want to provide content that shows people some of the great things they can do in the Midwest, but at the same time has a hook to say, and while you're doing those great experiences, here are some really cool, interesting places that you can stay.
Yeah. And you're a property, you've got properties, so you understand the need for that marketing, and that's going. Yeah.
And although a lot of inns will be savvy and financially able to do a Google Ads program for their respective inns, not all can. And even those that can, what a great thing to have the Midwest Association of Independent Inns also focus some marketing dollars on Google Ads, bringing people to the different areas via Google Ads. And so it's not just about continuously refining, improving, enhancing a website to bring more travelers to the Midwest and therefore to the respective inns. It's also the ability to be able to really showcase who we are and be able to do it via websites, Google Ads, via social media. We're trying to kind of check all the boxes because let's face it, a lot of us are small, independent inns. They may have smaller budgets. And what a great way to belong to an association that's committed to small independent lodging and just to maximize the dollars to showcase all of us.
Yeah, and to bring it back to the merger, I think just bringing a bigger network and more people just even adds to that benefit and outreach.
Mickey, excellent point because, we're better together, right? We're all better together, whether you're looking at financially, whether you're looking at expertise, knowledge, experience, ideas, board members. We're better together. And the more innkeepers, the richer our association becomes.
I was just going to ask Mikki if she understands what she's gotten herself into. That's all, as the incoming executive director.
I'm excited for it.
Good
So far,
deal.
everyone I have met has been amazing, and I think they mesh together so well and complement each other. It's going to be a great experience to be a part of it during this transition.
What else do you all want to talk about in terms of the merger or moving forward? If there's anything that either current members or people listening who aren't members that could become members, what they might want to know about where things are heading. Obviously, it's the need to focus more on marketing and provide the value there, and kind of that the size that's going to allow that to happen and hopefully enable that even more.
Yeah, you know where they can learn about this too. This is a perfect opportunity because Michigan and the Midwest Association of Independent Inns are not going to have two separate conferences anymore. It's one conference, and it's going to be held in Holland, Michigan at the Haworth Hotel, October 26th through 28th. And this InnSight 2025 conference is going to be magnificent because now it's from a vendor perspective, vendors only have to come to one conference versus two. From an innkeeper's perspective, again, it's you're going to have a lot of innkeeper and to innkeeper sharing sessions. It's going to be very educational in focus. It's going to be a lot of innkeepers coming together. And quite frankly, for anybody that hasn't joined our association yet, it's 13 states and we're growing each day. What a great opportunity to learn more about us, let alone, just a general educational and a whole lot of fun and well-deserved break up in beautiful Holland, Michigan. But the conference we're really excited about. In fact, Frictionless Guest App will be attending. They have generously given us a frictionless app for our conference. So when you go on our website, you can learn more about our conference, and you can also just really explore everything from speakers to Holland to the hotel via the Frictionless Guest App as well. It really is a great conference and we're super excited about it. So we'd love to have everybody attend. And Mikki or Randy, do you want to add to the conference information?
I would just say if you're new to the industry or interested in getting into the industry, there'll also be sessions regarding that and first steps, tips, all of that. So if you're hesitant or have questions or want to meet people, this is the time and place to do it.
Absolutely. Our Aspiring Innkeeper Seminar is going to be in conjunction with that. So that's a huge, huge thing.
One thing I wanted to point out is that with the merger of Michigan into the Midwest Association, our association is now growing to the size of 120 members. And I'm hoping a year from now, if we have another podcast, maybe we'll be 150 or 160 members. I can't think of a time in the last 2 decades where an association of B&Bs has actually grown, let alone like tripled. I think what we're doing is different. And I think that the important part is for people to know that, hey, if you're here in the Midwest and you don't have a vibrant state association, come join us. We want you to be a member. If you do have an association, we'd love to have you join our association because the critical mass makes us so much more successful. If you think about it from a guest experience point of view or a consumer experience point of view, someone comes to a website to learn about something, whether that was about waterfall experiences in the Midwest. They were specifically thinking about a specific area. They see what properties there, but then they see other articles about other interesting Midwest travels, or they learn about other interesting waterfalls, and then they see other properties, and then that gives them the opportunity to explore a whole breadth of options that I think that just weren't available before. If you know exactly where you're going to go, it's really easy to go to Google and find the properties in that area. That's why it became so important for us to focus on becoming more of a travel thing, because we become a resource. We get you to our site. We give you the opportunity to learn not only about that specific area that you wanted to go to, but about other areas in the Midwest where you might want to go, and hopefully introduce you to some other properties that you weren't thinking about, you didn't know about, other experiences that you weren't thinking about or knowledgeable about, other experiences specifically as it relates to like Fair Harbor. I mean, it all makes a lot of sense. And 120 members gives us a lot of marketing dollars to actually get that message out to consumers. We'll have, just by joining, we'll have over 200,000 visits to our website. I'm hoping by a year from now, that number, because we're going to have increased marketing dollars, that number hopefully will increase to 300,000. That's a lot of traffic and exposure that you don't get if you're an individual property trying to market yourself.
Yeah.
Having owned an inn myself for 15 years, 5-bedroom inn in central Wisconsin, one of the things that was of great value to me was the ability to have a network of innkeepers that I developed relationships with within my association. And whether it was going on a Facebook internal chat group and saying, hey, help, I have, 4 different types of dietary restrictions in my overnight stay this weekend. What worked for you in terms of food preparation? Or whether it was picking up the phone and calling people that I met at the conference and developed relationships with, not necessarily in my state, but other states, saying, hey, I've got some travelers heading your direction. They're asking me questions about restaurants. What are you thinking? I mean, I really put a great value on the networking, about the camaraderie, sometimes the commiserating, right? All of that. And I love the idea that an association can provide not just the marketing, which in and of itself is important, but just knowing that I could tap into other innkeepers, that I could pick up the phone and call my association and say, I know that you've taught us this 400 different times, but can you give me the latest on ADA compliance again and the rules and regs I need to think about? Or I have a service dog coming. What do I need to know? I have the ability to have support of an association. And if they don't have the answer, they'll find it for you. And so that to me is many other reasons, the educational component, the advocacy, the networking, all of that is also some reasons why, in addition to the wonderful marketing, that the Midwest innkeepers should consider coming to our conference, checking us out, or certainly going on our website and finding out more about us or giving us a call.
Randy, when you mentioned 120 members, you mean properties, right? Not just people. We're talking properties here. Is that right?
120 properties.
Yeah, which is quite a big number.
And keep in perspective that when we talk about the 13 Midwest states, our properties are largely in like 6 or 7 of those. So as we continue to grow and expand, there's huge opportunity for us to expand in some states. So that number has the ability to really exponentially grow.
I'm curious, like I hear numbers about like in the US, there's 10,000 bed and breakfasts or some really large number. And I always wonder, why aren't more of these independent inns members of like a Midwest Inns, right? Do you know what the numbers are across the states? It's got to be over 1,000, isn't it?
Heard the 10,000 number that you've referenced. There are a lot of B&Bs there. If you add in the vacation rentals or Airbnbs, that number obviously dramatically expands. But I've heard the 10,000 figure. I don't know how accurate it is, but I've heard it.
Yeah.
I know in the state of Wisconsin, I believe there are like 270 or 280 licensed bed and breakfasts.
Right. Okay. So that number from 120, which is pretty big, there's a lot of potential to get a lot bigger. So
Yeah, some of the properties are mom and pop operations and they have the license, but they're not people who necessarily take it as seriously as those of us who are, I think, a little bit more professionally driven. But that doesn't mean that they're not good. It just means that they may not find the value in something like this, although we'd like to believe that we offer value to any of those people.
Yeah. So it would be great if you can get more non-members, especially to come to the conference. And I want to ask a few more questions about that. But first, if they're listening and they're not members, do you want to talk a little bit about membership or what it entails or how they would go about it?
If you go on MWInns.com, you'll get a feel for certainly what we're all about. And there actually is a section on the website which is join our association. And at that point, you can see a little bit more information about why join, and it lists all the different member benefits we touched on: the education, the advocacy, the marketing, the networking, the all kinds of stuff. So you'll see that. You'll see an application, you'll see the costs, etc. And then you can always give that number a ring and we can kind of walk you through it as well. Without getting too detailed now, I'm just going to make a quick point. Anybody who wants to join our association can, meaning that we've created separate tiers, right, to be able to join our association. And we did that through feedback many years ago of our inns saying, hey, we want to have a cost that we feel we can afford, and it keeps going up and up and up and up every year. We need to figure a way to make sure that the cost stays to where we need it to be, but we don't want to lose any member benefits and we want more. And so through much work, we established a way in which to have a tiered membership program where if somebody says, okay, am a 3-room inn, I'm closed during the winter months where I'm in Key West, but it's very important to me to always be part of a local association. Local's important to me, and I want to support an association that supports me, even though I'm small. We have a price point and a membership benefit point that will serve them very, very well, all the way up through somebody that may say, I want every bell and whistle that I can get, meaning, can I get, an ad put on the front page of the website? Can I do this? Absolutely. And then the price point is higher, but the benefits are higher. So the point is, whatever your financial position is and whatever your professional goals are for your business, we've got a way to get you in here. And I think the point is that call us, contact us, we'll tell you and work with you. And it's just a really good way, again, to get exposure for your inn and to get the education and advocacy that you are looking for that can be supporting you. I don't know if that helped or hindered, but that's
No, I know. Yeah, that's what I was kind of curious about is the cost model, and people are probably wondering, and I was wondering if it was just one flat fee. And now that you're doing bookings through the website, whether it's based upon bookings or referrals or whatever, but they can get the details of that on the site, which is good.
Yeah, and there's other components that add to that, but then we're going down like, what does that mean? What is this? So let us explain it to you certainly on the website and then through phone calls and visits. So unless you'd add anything to that, Randy.
I think one thing that I did want to add is that I think it can be a little bit confusing as a business operator to think that people are going to book directly from the Midwest site. Our goal isn't to have you book from the Midwest site. Our goal is to give your property exposure so that consumers can book from our site, or more likely can go to your site, do more research and book there. The reality is that consumers are frequently going to use a multitude of sources, to figure out where they're going to stay. They're not going to come to one resource one time and book. They're probably going to go to a multitude of sites, a multitude of times to figure out where they want to stay. And we become another resource for doing that. So I think Google Analytics to some extent have hurt associations because people say, well, I didn't get any bookings from Midwest. Well, that's not the point. The point is you get exposure, and then that exposure ultimately leads to a booking. And Google Analytics are far more complicated. They tried to make it, I think, a better product, and they've made it, I think, harder for most people to understand. And you've got all these assisted bookings that, unless you know how to figure that out, you don't know how to get you don't get to see the data. And so it becomes hard for an association. I think that's one of the reasons why associations have struggled, is it's hard for the association to show the value to its members because of the way that works. But the reality is, I do know that we provide a positive return to our members. We're going to continue to focus on providing a positive return, to continue to increase the return that you actually get. And we can certainly help you understand the analytics side if you're struggling with that. But I do think that there's been some misperception of, how I'm going to prove that it's actually working.
Yeah, attribution's always a challenge, isn't it? But at least even you can't always maybe determine conversion to the booking through the booking path, but hopefully you can at least see traffic, right? Coming from West Ends or whatever. But there's still probably a lot more exposure that cannot be tracked, you would think. So Holland, Michigan, October 26th through the 28th. And you're calling it InnSight 2025. Is that right?
Correct.
And Holland is, I guess, conveniently, it's neat because it's on the water, though I guess it's on technically a lake, which is real close to Lake Michigan, I believe, right? But it's, I guess, like a 45-minute drive from Grand Rapids. Is that right? So it's easy to get there.
Yeah, Grand Rapids would be the airport that a lot of people are going to fly into. You could fly into Chicago and drive up. It's not, I think it's maybe like 3 hours. So if you wanted a more cost-effective alternative, that might be it. One of the things I will tell you is if you compare our conference to other conferences that are offered to innkeepers, our conference is way cheaper. We bring in a lot of really good vendors, and it's way cheaper for vendors as well. So it's a real good opportunity for both vendors and for innkeepers to get a great value for the money and really great education.
So now, are you able to take a ferry from Milwaukee over to Holland?
Fortunately not. It is close.
I'm just curious because you are from the Wisconsin. But I was looking at the map. It's like, oh wow, it's like right straight across from Milwaukee. And I haven't spent summers. I keep hearing about Michigan being so beautiful and the Great Lakes area and all that, and of course the UP. Yeah. So, and I don't know whether it's a big lake, so I don't know whether there's ferries and things like that.
What there actually are, but unfortunately they stopped prior to our conference beginning. But as Randy said, it really is an easy drive. It really is very centrally located. So, some of the states that we are doing some membership recruitment is Ohio and Indiana. Boy, it's just an easy straight shot up for them. It is an easy drive, and Grand Rapids, surprisingly, for many is much more cost effective than what you would think, and an easy, commute in. So, and Grand Rapids is adorable. Well, it is, but Holland is adorable. And so I think that people will certainly enjoy the educational component of the conference, the camaraderie of innkeeper to innkeeper sharing sharing sessions. But really, part of it is, and I've had at least 3 innkeepers call me and say, I'll be there because I need a break by then. And I want to tootle around Holland. The shopping is great. The sightseeing is great. It's beautiful. Come because you all deserve a break after a very long, hard season. So absolutely lots of reasons to come.
Hey, Kerri, can you tell us how much it costs as a vendor and as as an attendee to go to the conference?
Yeah, I can. And for an attendee to come is only $299. And let me stress that includes breakfast, it includes lunches, and it includes the big dinner event and all the breaks. So, I mean, $299 to include all of that. It is, like Randy said, really, really cost effective. If you have an extra person,
Yeah. What was the extra person?
yeah, yeah, I'm getting here. So I got a lot on my list here. Yeah. So if you have an additional person that you would like to bring from your inn, we have provided a cost savings for you. So $299 for the first person, $249 for each additional person. So again, really cost effective compared to some other associations that we're aware of. So, and again, we're going to have great speaking sessions. It'll be super. In terms of the vendors, we've created something a little bit different again to allow any vendors to be able to come. It's only $500 to be a vendor, but then you also have the capability of adding add-ons if you want. So if someone says, "Hey, I want extra exposure. I'm going to sponsor a breakfast like Think Reservations did." We're going to have the ability to be able to do add-ons, whether that is they want to sponsor a lunch, they want to sponsor the dinner, whatever that is, we'll give them more exposure. If you want to speak at the conference, we certainly are open to that as long as it's educational and focused. It has to kind of be approved by our committee. But absolutely, we've had some super vendors speak, and we're looking forward to welcoming that again, as well as obviously speakers that aren't vendors that are going to be just super. So, yeah, so $500 for a vendor, $249 or $299 for our attendees. Nikki, you were going to add something, I believe.
Oh, I was just going to say it's a great opportunity to meet all the Michigan members since we are on their stomping grounds, and they'll all be there because it's convenient too. It's a great time to meet and welcome all the Michigan people.
Yeah, and I've been to Michigan last 3 years. I was at Midwest last year, and we've been to Wisconsin before, but prior to that. So, yeah, so I'll be flying into Grand Rapids again this year, but going to Holland. So that'll be neat to check out a different place. Looking forward to it. So, Matt, what do you got for us?
I think, are we at the wrap-up point? I think we covered off on everything, right, everybody? Yeah. Good.
You lead us out? Lead us astray?
I will lead us out and astray. So I'll go down the line and ask the parting shots question. Kerri, any parting shots? Last thoughts?
I think we've covered it, Matt. Appreciate everybody's, time. Watch us grow, become a part of us. Check us out at our conference. Yeah, that's my parting comment.
Excellent. Randy, any parting shots?
I think the one thing I will say is that the Midwest Association is committed to growing. We fundamentally believe if you stay the same, you fall behind. And so we are excited to continue our journey to become the best association in the country.
Excellent. Mikki, welcome. First time here. Any parting shots?
I think Randy and Kerri covered it all. I would just want to say thank you, Matt and Steve, for both for having us, and I appreciate the opportunity. And hopefully we're back again next year with some more exciting news.
Excellent. All right. Well, I'll take us out. This concludes this Frictionless Innkeeper podcast interview with Kerri Thiel, who's the outgoing executive director of Midwest Inns, Mikki Suchomel, who's the incoming executive director of Midwest Inns, and of course, Randy Bangs, who is the board VP marketing chair of Midwest Inns. And our podcast is brought to you by the Frictionless Guest App, the digital concierge that helps your guests to live like locals. Learn how at frictionlessguest.com. Once again, that's frictionlessguest.com. And Kerri, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks again for having us, Matt and Steve. We sure appreciate it.
Absolutely. Mikki, welcome. Great to have you. Thanks again. And Randy, as always, thank you so much for your time.
Always a pleasure, and I really mean that.
Excellent. Steve, always a pleasure as well seeing you, my friend.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Randy, Kerri, Mikki. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.